Hi everyone, my name is Madison Keziah, and I'm a student volunteer with the National Weather Service in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm a meteorology student at UNC Charlotte in North Carolina and will be starting my senior year of college this upcoming fall. Today we're counting down what I selected as the top 10 most significant tornadoes to pack the National Weather Service Columbia County warning area in the last 50 years. Here's a graphic showing the counties covered by National Weather Service Columbia. Our office covers 18 South Carolina counties in the Midlands and PD region, in addition to 5 Georgia counties in the Augusta metro area. Ranking tornadoes isn't as simple as looking at their rating on the enhanced Fujita scale. For this list, I considered several factors, including tornado intensity, fatalities and injuries, property damage, historical significance, path length, and overall impact on the communities they have affected. You'll also hear about other tornadoes that occurred on the same day, especially when they were part of larger outbreaks that affected other parts of our home state of South Carolina and the southeastern United States. So with this, let's begin with number 10. Coming in at number 10 is the January 13th, 2006 Manning tornado in Clarendon County. This tornado was rated F1 and injured 18 people, making it one of the highest injury-producing tornadoes in the National Weather Service Columbia forecast area despite its relatively low intensity. The strong F1 tornado touched down just west of Manning and moved north-northeast towards Alcaloo. 6 mobile homes were completely destroyed, while 27 other buildings sustained minor to moderate damage. The high number of injuries can be attributed to the time of the day which the tornado touched down, which was shortly after 9:30 p.m. This tornado serves as a reminder that even weaker tornadoes can have big impact if they strike a populated area. This tornado occurred during a larger severe weather event that produced several F0 tornadoes across Columbia's county warning area and parts of Bamberg-Orangeburg, Richland, and Lexington counties. The Lexington-Richland tornado began as a waterspout over Lake Murray, which moved ashore and caused minor damage to a few hours before the Manning tornado. Although only rated at F1, the unusually high number of injuries earned it a place in this countdown. Coming in at number 9 is the January 11th, 2020 North Central High School tornado in Kershaw County. This short-lived tornado developed just after 10 p.m. as a line of thunderstorms moved across central South Carolina. Rated in EF2, it produced a peak winds of approximately 130 miles per hour as it tracked through portions of Kershaw County near North Central High School. Unlike our previous entry, there were no injuries or fatalities because the tornado struck late in the evening and the school was unoccupied. Had it occurred during school hours, the impacts could have far been more severe for students, faculty, and the surrounding community. The tornado traveled northeast across the campus of the high school before lifting approximately a half mile before the parking lot on the northeast side of the school. The tornado also caused down trees and power lines and severely damaged the North Central High School campus. The school required nearly 3 years of rebuilding and repairs before students were able to return in the spring of 2023. The tornado was a part of a larger severe weather outbreak that affected portions of the southeast, producing multiple tornadoes across the region, including 5 EF0 tornadoes in the upstate of South Carolina. While it wasn't the strongest tornado in National Weather Service Columbia's history, its direct strike on a school campus and the extensive damage it caused make it one of the most memorable tornadoes in the National Weather Service Columbia forecast area. Coming in at number 8 is the September 27, 2004 F2 tornado that impacted Fairfield County north of Ridgeway. This tornado formed from the remnants of Hurricane Jeanne as the storm moved inland across South Carolina. The tornado was rated F2 and caused 1 fatality along with 13 injuries. While tracking mainly through rural Fairfield County, this tornado also impacted the area near Scout Lane, where 5 mobile homes were destroyed and 2 homes also sustained moderate to severe damage. The remnants of Jeanne produced 9 tornadoes in the Midlands of South Carolina. Other notable tornadoes include an F1 tornado that struck Alcaloo, peeling off the roof of a school, destroying 2 mobile homes, injuring 4, and an F1 tornado in Newberry County north of Pomeroy, destroying 1 home. While most tornadoes spawned by tropical cyclones are normally weak, this F2 tornado shows that there are exceptions to every rule, earning it the number 8 spot on this countdown. Spoiler warning, this will not be the only tornado on our list spawned by a system of tropical origin. Coming in at number 7 is the April 15th, 2007 Sumter County tornado. This tornado developed during a significant spring severe weather event that produced 4 tornadoes in the National Weather Service Columbia forecast area. This tornado intensified to a powerful EF3 tornado towards the end of its life, where a fatality occurred near Highway 76 northeast of the city of Sumter. In all, the Sumter County tornado also injured 5, destroyed 7 mobile homes, severely damaged 9 frame homes, and caused light to moderate damage to additional 62 mobile or framed homes. The combination of violent winds and structural damage made this one of the most destructive tornadoes in Sumter County history, earning 7th place in our top 10. Coming in at number 6 is the April 10th, 2009 Aiken County tornado. This tornado developed during the historic Good Friday tornado outbreak of 2009, one of the largest severe weather events to affect the Southeast that year. Several other tornadoes also occurred that day, with this tornado being the strongest that struck South Carolina during this outbreak. The supercell first produced a tornado in Georgia and Groveton, where several front homes, mobile homes, and businesses sustained EF1 damage. It continued into Augusta, where damage was rated EF2 from Barton Chapel Road to Bungalow Road. The tornado took down numerous trees and power lines and was responsible for 12 injuries. The supercell continued east into South Carolina and Aiken County along Highway 278. Damage to mobile homes, frame homes, and businesses occurred in Beach Island and New Ellenton, where the most significant damage, rated EF3, near the intersection of Highway 278 and Highway 302. 14 people were injured and 1 indirect fatality occurred when a driver ran into a downed tree he could not see due to poor visibility. Another supercell produced an EF3 tornado in Burke County, Georgia, injuring 4. A total of 7 tornadoes were confirmed in the National Weather Service Columbia forecast area that day. This event stands as one of the most significant tornado outbreaks in recent history, earning its place as number 6 on this countdown. Coming in at number 5 is the April 5th, 2022 tornado that moved through rural portions of Bamberg and Orangeburg counties. This tornado reached peak winds of approximately 160 miles per hour and remained on the ground for nearly 35 miles, initially touching down in Allendale County before dissipating north of Bowman in Orangeburg County. Along its path, numerous homes were damaged or destroyed. Many trees were uprooted or snapped, and entire sections of forests experienced severe damage. The EF3 rating is attributed to the remarkable level of damage to trees, including 2-mile area of 80 to 100% tree blowdown and ground scouring. There was also structural damage from the tornado, especially in Carver Road area of Bamberg County, where 1 mobile home was completely destroyed, while a frame home had its roof completely removed and had partial wall collapse. The tornado occurred during a severe weather outbreak that produced 8 tornadoes in the National Weather Service Columbia forecast area, including an EF2 tornado in Manning and a second EF2 in Aiken and Lexington counties that prompted members of the South Carolina House of Representatives in Columbia to seek shelter in the basement of the State House. To learn more about this event, one of the radar operators that day, here is National Weather Service Columbia meteorologist Pierce Larkin.
So this was a pretty significant event across southeastern CONUS. It was well forecast. Ended up with quite a bit of tornadoes across southeastern U.S., including an EF4 in the southern part of Charleston's area, and an EF3, a very strong EF3 at that, in our forecast area. Really, this is a foundational weather event for me. as a meteorologist, as it really kind of set me on the trajectory that I'm on now for my career. It was a few weeks after the radar applications course completed for me, and I was in the hot seat for the very first time in my career. And ever since then, I have been on a one-way ticket to loving radar and knowing as much about it as I possibly can. There were a couple of things that I really remember about this event that were pretty impactful for me. The first is that it really taught me to have to compartmentalize when you're on radar. This event was really impactful across a large portion of our forecast area. Around, I think it was 5:30 or 6:30. I think it was 5:30 that day. Part of the QLCS that was pushing into our forecast area actually began to produce a tornado in Aiken County, and we had issued a tornado warning for my house. But I had to quickly text my wife, text my friends that lived in Lexington County because, I'm kind of freaking out sitting on the desk trying to actually issue warnings on supercells that are in a part of the forecast area I'd never been to, while my family and my friends were under a tornado warning. The things that really stuck with me was the degree of damage that this tornado produced. There were multiple trees that were debarked and had their pines stripped off of them. It was extremely impressive to see this kind of damage firsthand. There was really a specific spot that really left an impact on me, and it was at this home in Bamberg County. It was a mobile home. As you can see, this mobile home was completely destroyed. Well, we got to meet the owner of that home while we were on the storm survey, and she told us that because of our warning, the amount of lead time we had on the warning, she was able to leave the mobile home and go into town and seek sturdier shelter. She had stayed in that mobile home. There's a good chance that she's seriously injured or killed by the tornado. That's really stuck with me. It really hammered home the importance of our jobs at what we do as meteorologists.
Thank you, Pierce. Although there were no injuries or fatalities, its exceptional intensity, long path, and extensive tree damage make it one of the strongest tornadoes to impact the National Weather Service Columbia forecast area in recent history, earning it a spot in the top 5. Coming in at number 4 is the April 13th, 2020 Livingston tornado. During the early morning hours of April 13th, a tornado touched down south of Elko in Barnwell County before tracking northeast into Orangeburg County, turning east, and eventually moving into Calhoun County, where it lifted. The tornado reached EF3 intensity with estimated winds of around 140 miles per hour northwest of Livingston in Orangeburg County. While not the first tornado to impact the National Weather Service Columbia County warning area during this event, it had the second longest track and was one of the only 8 recorded tornadoes to result in injuries and fatalities. Along its path, homes were completely destroyed, manufactured homes were swept away, power infrastructure suffered extensive damage, and countless trees were snapped or uprooted. Tragically, 2 people lost their lives when this tornado struck their manufactured home. 7 others were injured as well. The Livingston tornado was one of the several significant tornadoes to impact the National Weather Service Columbia forecast area that day. 4 additional EF3 tornadoes also occurred during the outbreak, impacting portions of Aiken, Barnwell, and Orangeburg counties, making April 13, 2020 one of the most active and destructive tornado days in the last 50 years across our forecasting area. The path of the Livingston tornado overlapped with one of the other tornadoes near the intersection of Fire Tower Road and Starwood Drive, west of Nesis. Along the Livingston tornado was one of the several produced during the Easter outbreak. Its deadly impacts, long path, and violent intensity earns this event the number 4 spot on our list. Coming in at number 3 is the March 15, 2008 tornado that impacted Newberry and Richland counties. This tornado first touched down near Silver Street and continued east through Prosperity before crossing into Richland County while weakening and lifting soon after. 2 people were injured in Newberry County, including a woman who sustained injuries when her mobile home collapsed on her. Damage from this tornado was rated EF3 with a maximum width between 1/4 and 1/2 mile wide at peak intensity. The supercell that spawned this tornado would go on to produce several other tornadoes, including an EF2 that struck Elgin, injuring 2. Elsewhere, another EF3 tornado caused significant damage to Branchville in Orangeburg County. 7 supercells moved across the National Weather Service Columbia forecast area on March 15, 2008, producing 24 tornadoes, making it one of the state's memorable severe weather events. In all, over 85 homes were destroyed and 400 had moderate damage. Combined, these tornadoes produced an estimated $40 million of damage due to the injuries, destruction, and large width of the tornado, along with being a part of a larger outbreak across our forecast area. The March 15, 2008 Newberry-Richland County tornadoes secured 3rd place on our list. Coming in at number 2 is the August 16, 1994 Lexington tornado spawned by the remnants of Tropical Storm Beryl. As Beryl trotted across Georgia towards the upstate of South Carolina, conditions became favorable for tornado development across the region, with 14 tornadoes tracking across the Midlands on August 16th. The tornado that struck Lexington was the strongest of these, being rated an F3. The Lexington tornado first touched down in Red Bank, about 3 miles from downtown. Major damage occurred to the Glassmaster factory at the intersection of South Carolina 6 and Interstate 20. The tornado continued north-northwest and did not spare the downtown, with damage to the Lexington United Methodist Church, among numerous other buildings. Further north, damage was extensive around the Village Square Shopping Center along 378, with another area of significant damage in the Secret Cove neighborhood on the southern shore of Lake Murray. The tornado then moved over the lake before lifting. The tornado caused an estimated $50 million of damage while injuring 40 people. Homes, businesses, and public infrastructure suffered extensive destruction, making it one of the most expensive tornadoes in the history of the National Weather Service Columbia forecast area. To talk more about tropical cyclone tornadoes, here is National Weather Service Columbia meteorologist Steve LaVoie.
The Midlands and CSRA are no stranger to tropical cyclone impacts, including tornadoes. While not every tropical storm or hurricane that moves across our forecast area produces tornadoes, many of them have. This includes the remnants of Hurricane Jeanne in 2004 and the remnants of Tropical Storm Beryl in 1994, which produced tornadoes ranked number 8 and number 2 on Madison's top 10 list. Conditions are particularly favorable for tropical cyclone tornadoes to develop in the rain bands in what we call the right front or northeast quadrant of a tropical cyclone. In August 2021, the remnants of Tropical Storm Fred took a very similar track to Beryl, passing well to our west after making landfall on the Gulf Coast. In all, Fred produced 5 tornadoes across the NWS Columbia forecast area. Fortunately, none of them produced the damage similar to the F3 that tore through Lexington, South Carolina during the passage of Beryl. The last tropical cyclone that produced tornadoes in the NWS Columbia forecast area was Hurricane Helene in 2024. Rain bands associated with the hurricane produced 11 tornadoes, mostly across the southeastern Midlands of South Carolina. The winds that caused significant impacts in the western Midlands and CSRA were associated with the core of Helene as it passed through our area, and were not attributed to a tornado. In terms of records, the remnants of another 2004 hurricane, Hurricane Francis, produced the most tornadoes across the Palmetto State at 45. 14 of which track through our forecast area. Tornadoes are just one of several hazards associated with tropical storms and hurricanes. For more information on these hazards, please watch our Hurricane Hazard series done in conjunction with NWS Columbia, NWS Greenville Spartanburg, NWS Charleston, South Carolina, NWS Wilmington, North Carolina, and the South Carolina State Climate Office.
Thank you, Steve. Due to its economic impact and the unusually high number of injuries, the 1994 Lexington tornado earned the 2nd place spot on this list. If you are a longtime resident of the Midlands, then you know there's only one tornado worthy of the top spot on our list. taking the #1 spot. The tornado I believe to be the most impactful in the National Weather Service Columbia forecast area during the last 50 years is the March 28, 1984 Winnsboro tornado, one of the 24 tornadoes to touch down during the historic Carolinas outbreak. This violent F4 tornado devastated portions of Fairfield County, including the town of Winnsboro, South Carolina. With estimated winds exceeding 200 miles per hour, the tornado destroyed entire neighborhoods, blew homes off their foundations, overturned vehicles, and left catastrophic damage in its wake. Touching down near Monticello Reservoir, the tornado moved east-northeast, passing a few miles north of the downtown area. Unfortunately, 5 people lost their lives, the most deaths from a single tornado in National Weather Service Columbia forecast area during the last 50 years. 49 others were injured, and property losses totaled approximately $25 million. The Winnsboro tornado was one of the 3 F4 tornadoes that occurred in our forecast area on March 28, 1984. In addition to the Winnsboro tornado, another violent F4 tornado impacted the southern Lancaster County near Kershaw, injuring 36, while a separate F4 struck the community of Cache in Chesterfield County, injuring 24. There were 3 additional tornadoes in the Midlands, including an F2 tornado that impacted Newberry County, killing 1 and injuring 38 people. These tornadoes made March 28, 1984 one of the most historical tornado days ever documented in the region. For more on his personal experience with the Winnsboro tornado, here is meteorologist Daniel Bonds.
So I was a little fella when that tornado hit. I was in first grade, but I do remember that afternoon being outside, playing, just having a good time like you normally would as a first grade student. Me and my little brother out there, and the skies got really dark, and that greenish color that you always hear about, but you don't typically would see here in South Carolina. My mom called us in. My dad was working at the time. And you have to remember, 1984, you didn't have all the information that you can get now. So they said, well, there's a tornado warning. We didn't think much of it. So we go on in, we start watching the news, and they keep saying a tornado warning. The trees in this neighborhood, big old tall pines, they were swaying like crazy. Some of them started popping, and it was just something you'd never seen before, like in South Carolina. But the bigger story was 3 miles north of that neighborhood where the actual tornado was just plowing through. You're talking about a couple of schools getting hit. You're talking about numerous homes being destroyed. Matter of fact, my dad was up there in the tornado. And again, you didn't have the information you have now. You don't have the cell phones and that sort of thing. They didn't know what was going on. They saw this large hailstone just fall out of the sky. Then all of a sudden the winds start whipping. They see 18-wheelers getting thrown around. They didn't know at the time they were in a tornado, but looking back, one of the strongest tornadoes possibly ever in South Carolina. The school that I was going to at the time, Richard Wayne Academy, completely destroyed. I mean, just completely destroyed. Luckily though, the tornado occurred, I think around 5:30. But if you're talking about if that thing would have occurred 3 hours earlier, you're talking about even a bigger disaster. And I know a number of people did get hurt and killed in that storm, but it could have been a lot worse, even if it was just a few miles farther south. If it would have hit the center of Winnsboro, you're still talking about a major, major disaster. But I will say, I still remember seeing sheet metal wrapped around trees, cars being tossed like toys, and houses just completely gone with nothing but the slab left. If you go over to Newberry, if you go over to Bennettsville in Marlboro County, and you talk about March 28th, 1984, people still remember that day. And there's still people that I know that are freaked out to this day because of that storm. But luckily, as you guys know, we know a lot more about those storms. We have a lot more information. We can prepare people a lot better now. Back then in 84, you didn't know that. You didn't have that information that we have now. I look back and we didn't even take cover. We were just looking out the window and watching the trees sway. And like I said, 3 miles up the road, you're talking about total destruction. I had to go back and look today because I didn't know what they had estimated the winds at. But at the time, as you guys know, it was only the Fujita scale. And they estimated those winds between 208 and 260 miles per hour. That was obviously before they kind of changed the scale a little bit. And another little interesting tidbit about the 1984 tornadoes that cut across South Carolina and North Carolina, Dr. Fujita actually was down here surveying that damage. So the gentleman who started the Fujita scale down here surveying that damage.
Thank you, Daniel. More than 40 years later, the Winnsboro F4 tornado remains the benchmark for the tornado destruction in central South Carolina and stands as the most significant tornado in the history of the National Weather Service Columbia County warning area. That wraps up my top 10 most significant tornadoes in the National Weather Service Columbia County warning area. Looking back at these events, one thing becomes clear. Every tornado has its own story. Some are remembered for their incredible strength, others for the lives they changed, and the communities that they impacted, or the historical outbreaks they were also a part of. Together, they have helped shape the weather history of central South Carolina and the central Savannah River area of Georgia. One of the most important lessons from this countdown is that tornadoes can happen during any month of the year and at any time of the day. They can develop from classic spring supercells, tropical systems, or overnight weather events, reminding us that tornado preparedness is important year-round. While we can't prevent tornadoes from occurring, we can prepare for them. Having multiple ways to receive warnings, knowing where your safe place is, and taking warnings seriously can save lives. I hope this countdown gave you a better understanding of some of the most significant tornadoes to affect our forecast area and why these events continue to be remembered today. Thank you for watching. I'm Madison Keziah, a student volunteer with the National Weather Service in Columbia, South Carolina. Stay weather aware and stay prepared.